It's a hot, hot afternoon at the MISANO World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. We've got more than 30 cars coming out to play for the first of two races for the GT4 European Series. One today, one tomorrow. Track temperatures have been around the mid-40s. Tyre life is going to be a massive issue for all the drivers. Push too hard too soon, you'll have nothing left in the bank for the second half of the race. Two driver races, 35 cars came to play. A couple didn't take part in qualifying, so still around 33 cars, and at the very, very sharp end of the grid. It's a pair of KTMs, Mads Siljehaug in the number 24 True Racing version, and number 16 also from True Racing with Patrick Niederhauser. It was a stop-start session. There'll be a few people with hard luck stories not finding themselves at the very sharp end of the field, but they've got an hour of racing to work their way back up towards the very sharp end all over again. Daniel Mackay, Benjamin Lessen, McLaren racers for Equipe Vechor, leading the championship after a really strong start to their season. On the podium 4 times in 6 races, held so far across Monza, Brands Hatch, Paul Ricard, and now we're at MISANO. Jan Kisiel and Max Kobold leading the chase in their Lippert Motorsport Mercedes, and Simon Knapp and Alec Udell, American racer Udell, really making a splash for MDM Motorsport on this side of the pond. In the Pro-Am Cup, it's Lucy Treffs and Marcus Paverud topping the table by a sizable 22 points ahead of Marius Zug and Gabriele Piana. But look at the name, Alain Ferte, such a great racer in the early 1980s, still racing, loving his GT4 competition. He's third, equal with his teammate Gregoire Demoustier. It's hot, there's a haze on the track, and maybe for Clement Saylor and Pascal Bachmann, the street art racing Aston Martin crew in the Am Cup, they'll be able to stretch their advantage. But David Logier and Eric Mouet, the CMR Alpine, leading the chase. And Lisette Brahms, also a McLaren racer, racing in the Am class, is third at the moment. This weekend she's sharing with Gabi Ullier, all Dutch pairing. It's very hot and still on the grid, but there is a little bit of hope for all the pit crews around. The flags are very likely fluttering along the pit wall. Any breeze is welcome. KTM crossbows down there on the front row of the grid. Norwegian racer Mads Siljehaug, top of the pile. These two were covered by about 1/10 of a second, with the rest about 8/10 back, but it was a stop-start session. They managed to nail those flying laps, but I recall from previous GT4 European races here at MISANO, the KTM crossbow is never more in its element than it is around the tight, twisty turns of the circuit on the Adriatic coast. Second of the KTMs from True Racing on the outside of the front row. That's on the pit wall side. That's Patrick Niederhauser. He's racing all around the world these days and really is having a marvellous season so far in GT3 racing and, of course, GT4, where he's had such strong campaigns in previous seasons. Good, busy grid down there. Another car almost always featuring at the sharp end is the Alpine. Really strong driver pairing for the number 9 CMR entry. Stéphane Lemeray will start and hand over to Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Such a great looking little car, the Alpine A110. And they're the rather blunter tool alongside, if you will. Romain Monti put a big smile on the face of Dave Price Racing. He's gone 4th fastest Bullet Racing. But let's go down to the grid, because we're going down. We've got an interview on the grid.
Yes, we're down on a sweltering hot grid, a really busy grid down here. I'm with Naomi. She's managing some of the Rita engineering cars. Naomi, how nice is it to have 2 KTMs right on the front line?
It's fantastic. I mean, the result we had in Quali 1 today was, even we can't believe it. So we have an all KTM front row. So we're really proud for True Racing and Valvoline, and we hope that we can bring it home.
Do you think the KTMs are strong on this kind of track? I know Alpine was quite fast this morning, and the Mercedes seemed to play well here.
I mean, generally, I think we've shown that the pace is there, and we were testing here a couple of weeks ago, so the hard work has obviously paid off, but we've taken ourselves by surprise with a clean front row, and we're very happy with the results.
Keep cool, and let's see what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dakota down there with Naomi Schiff, who really knows what she's talking about. She spent several seasons racing the KTMs with the crew down at Reiter Engineering, so good to have her. But I was watching her having conversation at lunchtime, and it's very happy camp now after such a good qualifying session, and I think they hold high hopes for the race ahead. Ecris Motorsports, M4, always at the sharp end of the field, really strong driver pairing. Ewan Mackay, and he's handing over to no less a driver than Ricardo van der Ende, who has such a phenomenal history of success in GT4 racing. So a British-Dutch pairing, and a lot of Dutch drivers in the field. They very much took to GT4 at its inception, have been the backbone of the series for many a year. Alongside, we have a McLaren. Doors open, Daniel Mackay, championship leader. But let's go down to the grid because Dakota's been busy. She's got another interview for us.
Here, starting P3 on the grid, there's a lot of cars behind you, but I really think the quick ones are going to be in front of you.
Yeah, they did a great quali. The car looked quite fast, so with the hot, we looked at the big car have problems with tires, so I think we can do a very good race.
So what's your tyre strategy for this race? As you said, it's very hot, you're struggling with tyres, you got the pressures right?
So maybe first stint quite smooth on the steering, and my last stint to push and to try to get this win.
Are you going to be trying to conserve rear tyres?
Yeah, maybe, but I do the last stint, so I'll try to go for the win.
And let's hope you got a good pit stop, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Good luck, thank you.
Pierre-Alexandre Jean, still only 18, third year in the championship, real star. Not in the making, he's already a star, but certainly goes very well. Max Cobalt, bright yellow Mercedes, Live at Motorsport, second in the championship with his teammate Jan Kisiel. Well placed on the grid, down on row number 4, but in at the sharp end. Marius Zug sharing with Gabriel Piana, number 111. BMW for an RN Vision STS always go very well. This is running in the Pro-Am class, up at the sharp end of the field. Great mix of manufacturers. The two KTMs on the front row, the Alpine and the Mercedes on row number 2, the third row BMW and the McLaren. And on it goes. GT4 really does go from strength to strength. The grid starting to be cleared of personnel. And Dakota's been moving very fast. She's gone up to the car at 4th on the grid, and she's got Alex Lambert.
Alex, not quite the front of the grid, maybe not where you wanted to start, but you're the only Mercedes sitting here for quite a few rows back. Is that good?
Yeah, we're pretty confident. Car felt very good in qualifying, and yeah, let's see what the race will bring.
What do you think the front engine's like in the Mercedes on this kind of a track? Do you think it suits it well, or do you think you're struggling a little bit?
It suits good. Not perfect, but good. Yeah, like I said, the car is very good. Yeah, we're pretty confident.
We know already from GT3, GT4 is a little bit of a different game, but the tyres are still pretty good on that Mercedes with the front engine. Are you going to be struggling with tyre pressures?
Hopefully not. In free practice, everything was fine. Yeah, we had a bit of problems after very long runs, but yeah, all in all, it should be good.
Well, don't melt. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't melt. Operational words there for all concerned. It's very hot. Let's take a look at the grid. If you like your KTMs, they're right at the sharp end. Front row of the grid, Mans Siljahaug on pole, and by the pit wall, Patrick Niederhauser. Seems like a long gap back to second row before the formation lap, but we've got the Alpine on the left, Stefan Lemire will start, and then Romain Monti, he's sharing the car. We just heard from Alex Lamberts, his teammate, that's Bullet Racing. First the BMWs on the left, Ewan Mackay on the right, the first the McLarens, championship leader that is, Benjamin Lessen. Car running second in the championship is that number 4 Mercedes on the left of screen, alongside Marius Zug in his BMW. Another BMW and 12th on the grid, that's 10th on the grid, Senan Bazi and Cedric Freiberghaus in the best of the Audis. We expect them to be closer to the front, but aren't they great looking cars as we work down. We glide on the Segway. And Aston Martin, we expected a few more of those, but certainly I think we might see some strong runs from them. But it's about keeping tyre life, giving something for the second driver to take over, something they can really race the whole way to the finish. So preservation, such a long grid, we get down to the final few cars, even curling around the corner. They haven't quite got through turn 16, going down to the last few rows now. There's Pascal Bachmann car, the Aston Martin that's been going well this year. Pascal racing for Street Art Racing, sharing with Clement Seiler. And they're the very, very back of the grid. David Griesner's and Eric Mouet on the back row of the grid. There's David's car. So waiting for everything to be straightened out. More than 30 cars coming out to play. In fact, they're already out. The formation lap is underway. First of 2 races, and just to reiterate, the GT4 European Series competing here at Misano, having had an opening couple of races at Monza in April, 2 at Brands Hatch in May, start of this month, start of June, a pair at Paul Ricard. And now Misano, totally different sort of circuit, and if you've never seen a race here before, look on the right hand side of your screen, that is turn 1. It's very, very tight indeed. Turn 2 follows soon after. and quite a lot of the drivers will still be out of position 2, even 3 abreast, trying to negotiate that left-hander, which feeds in turn almost straight into turn 3. Very, very tight at the start of the lap. Then you get the infield straight down to the hairpin at turn 8. A lot of drivers think that's an overtaking possibility. It is, but it doesn't always pay off. Big area of runoff, and quite often we may find cars using that to keep out of the way. Hairpin again at turn 10, then the long kink straight, kink at 11, kink at 12, kink at 13. Heavy braking for turn 14. Final few corners, onto the start-finish straight. Do it all over again. Do it in company, do it with people very, very close in time to your time. It's going to be hot, it's going to be hard, it's going to be competitive. And for those that push too hard, the race is going to feel like a long one, because quite simply they won't have enough rubber left under their cars to give them performance that their more cautious and considered rivals will have managed to hand over to their second driver. Let us see who can get the equation right. KTM's at the front of the field. We've had 1 win for Reinhard Koffler and Patrick Niederhauser. 2 in their KTM. 2 wins for Simon Knapp and Alec Udell in their MDM Motorsport BMW. 2 wins for the championship leading pairing in the Vishal McLaren of Benjamin Assen and Daniel Mackay, and 1 win for the Lippert Mercedes in 2nd place overall on points, Jan Kisiel and Max Cobalt. Cobalt starting the race today from 4th on the grid. Sorry, I beg your pardon, in number 4 from 7th on the grid. So this, the formation lap, an hour of racing, already hot in the cockpits, the concentration growing, intensifying. They would have watched the GT runners in qualifying before. They would have watched every sort of car out on the track, trying to see what their rival categories, how the drivers manage the conditions here. Certainly turn 13 into 14 has been very, very difficult for drivers, pushing for that final 10th of a second. Formation lap nearly at a close. Last few cars going through turns 13 and 14. The leading pack up to the kink at turn 15. The safety car, the lights are out. That will pull off into the pit lane. Here is turn 15. It's the 2 KTMs on the front row of the grid. In behind the Alpine of Stefan Lemeray and the Bullet Racing Mercedes. The 2 Bullet Racing Mercedes run by Dave Price, with Romain Monti really looking for a star result in that number 66 Mercedes, 4th on the grid. Ewan Mackay 5th on the grid in the BMW may fancy his chances. It's tight down to the first corner. You've got to be cautious, but you've got to be positive too. So waiting for the lights on the starting gantry. They're red now, all 5 of them, to turn to green. Waiting for as many in the field to come through that final corner, see the start. Last 10 cars or so still coming through the twisty bits. A few cars on the grass. We've got Ewan Mackay taking to the grass to go past the Alpine. The Alpine's made a dreadful start from 3rd on the grid. Stefan Lemeray down from 3rd to 5th. The real gain was Ewan Mackay, the Scot, going up, gaining position. He's now got back down to 4th, and Romain Monti's gone up from 4th to 3rd. But the big loser as the front row gets away in grid order was unfortunately Stefan Lemeray in the little blue and white Alpine. It's very nimble. It's being challenged by the McLaren of Benjamin Lassen, championship leader, but the first KTM has got clear blue sky between itself and the competition. We have a spinner early on. Don't rejoin the track like that. Will everyone go round the Aston Martin? Well, somehow, just somehow, I think they've managed to do just that. So well done indeed. That was the Academy car, Micah Stanley, going for a rotation, then holding his breath down through turn 8. The hairpin, they're looking tidy too. 2 KTMs, 1st and 2nd as they were on the grid. And a change, we've had 5th to 3rd, back to 4th, and the BMW with Ewan Mackay back to 3rd again, past the Bullet Racing Mercedes. Now, the field going onto that long back straight out of turn number 10. Mads Siljehoug, Patrick Niederhauser formed the first part of the first row of the grid, still in those orders. McLaren has now picked off Stefan Lemeray, the Alpine, going backwards at the moment. So the V8 Racing Chevrolet is making its way forward, but all sorts of positional changes, but no one has an answer yet to the pace of the KTMs at the front of the field. Simon Knapp making progress, the number 25, the MD Motorsport BMW, tail end of the top 10, but seems to be picking off positions. Car 24 was on pole, still at the front of the field. What I sense though is number Ewan Mackay in 3rd place is starting to close on those first 2 KTMs. Mads Siljehoug, Patrick Niederhauser, see the order there, Romain Monti in 4th, Stefan Lemeray lost out. Big twitchy moment out of the final corner from number 15 as the little Ginetta got it back together with the tank slapper. Rejoined the field, no damage done. Got a pit visitor or two underneath me, but at the front end it's all very tidy. You sort of feel this battle is bubbling up. Marius Zug making progress in the number 111 BMW. That's the car entered by RN Vision STS. But what I want to see is the sector times in the first part of the second lap, and it's good for Mads Siljehoug. Consciously he's leading the race. He is stretching clear. Ewan Mackay I thought was catching, but in the first sector his BMW just not as nimble as the two KTMs that really star here on the tight, twisty confines of Misano circuit. Siljehoug doing his best, stretching clear. Patrick Niederhausen trying to hang on. He was 1.1 seconds down. That was the gap on the start-finish line. I sense they go down the back straight for the second time. Another tenth or two has been gained by the race leader. What I'm seeing there is also the challenge for fourth place. Roman Monti holding it, but down the long straight, the pace of the McLaren. There it is, the Keep for Sure car. Patrick Lessen leading the championship in that car. Picks him off very easily. We saw this 12 months ago down the straights. This 570S, so sleek, and it really works very well indeed. So Roman Monti's been started fourth, down to fifth, up to third, down to fourth. Now he's demoted again. It's tight, it's tricky. What's the gap? First to second is 1.1 seconds between Mads Siljehoug and Patrick Niederhausen, waiting for the screens to readjust. I think it's gone outside. Yes, 1.292, so just over a tenth of a second gains. Who else is making a move? Just trying to see, it looks as though Simon Knapp in 25 is now starting to push Marius Zug in the 111 car. Marius holding on to 7th place for now. That Bullet Racing Mercedes still going very well. The number 66 Mercedes going very well indeed in the hands of Roman Monti. Yes, the McLaren got past it. The McLaren is pulling away. There you can see the McLaren in the front of that picture. That's in 4th place. Roman is back in 5th. And a car that is running stone last in the race was caught up in the first lap incident, I think, with Paolo Belloni, was Alain Ferte, right at the tail of the field, way off the pace, but actually going very well indeed. But clearly the damage was done in those early moments. And most notably, David Griesner was the driver actually who was facing the wrong way in the circuit. The car should be showing Viveka Rabindra. Started right at the very tail of the field. Who is making moves. The Porsche Caymans a few years ago were right at the front end of the field. They sort of lost position. Let's take a look at the start all over again. Two KTMs. BMW getting on the grass on the outside, away from the pit wall. Gained from 5th up to 3rd. The Stéphane Lemeray Alpine going backwards. And 4th place held by Roman Monti. But the positions kept on changing. Riding in the middle of the pack behind the little Ginetta. We can see just how tight it was as the field goes down into the first turn. That tight right-hander. Actually, I must say, people were being very sensible indeed, with Ginetta around a little bit wide, possibly giving space to others. And then a little bit of a helping hand, perhaps in the Borusan Automotive BMW, and David Griesner going for that spin and sitting in the track and having to wait for all and sundry to go back past him. Now I sense that Stéphane Lemeray is picking up the pace in the number 9 Alpine, entered by CMR, seeing what he can do right on the tail of Roman Monti's Bullet Racing Mercedes. Look for the yellow Mercedes in the middle of that pack. Second in the championship, Max Kobel trying to make up ground. He's watched Simon Knapp go past Marius Zug, and he fancies a move as well. He's moved on the tail of that number 111 BMW. He's now trying to make life very tough indeed. As Stéphane Lemeray down in 6th place, tries to remove 5th place from Roman Monti. That gives a little more scope for Benjamin Lessen to get away in that 4th place in the McLaren. He needs to get clear. He needs to set off after the BMW of Ewan Mackay. It's very even at the front, but a tenth of a second gain here by Mads Siljehoug, and there by Mads Siljehoug, is helping him get away. And in turn, Patrick Niederhausen in behind is able to escape from Ewan Mackay by small margins, but enough for the field to be stretching out. And you can see over the last few laps, the advantage with every lap has been with the pole sitter, with that Siljehoug. Patrick Niederhausen doing all he can, and in behind in 3rd place, Ewan Mackay, the Scot, 3 seconds down at the end of the previous lap. It should have gone out a little bit more this time around, one would feel. 3.7 seconds, yes, the fastest lap of the race. Every lap around is set by Mads Siljehout, gaining normally 0.2 of a second. That's a big margin in GT4 racing. A spinner out of the final corner, going backwards past my commentary box. Driver of 31 Mercedes, Alessandro Giovinelli, wanted a good result in Italy. Not getting it today, I'm afraid. And now, looked at Max Coburn. He's suddenly got plenty of company from behind. The number 1 Audi is gaining places. Cedric Freiberghaus got past Sem Bolokbazi. The Turkish racer in the BMW is sticking to his tail. And now I sense that Roman Monti is finding his feet again, finding his form, getting onto the tail of the McLaren. That made a bit of a sticky start, managed to pick up positions down the back straight, and now on the twisted parts of the circuit, finding no advantage whatsoever. The Mercedes able to stick with it. The little Alpine tucking in behind, Stéphane Lemeray. Nice, tight, tiny driving here. And after the flurry of the opening lap, when the positions were changing, seemingly not only at every corner, but on the straights in between, it's settling down, looking to see who's making the moves. It's the tail end of the top 10, really, I think, where the place changes are coming. And as I say that, it's going into the top half of the top 10, possibly a change from 6th to 5th from Stéphane Lemeray in the little Alpine. He's on the inside line, he's hung Roman Monti to the outside in the Mercedes, but the Bullet Racing car's got the faster, tighter exit, can't make it work. So reversion of position as our pace setter, our race leader Mads Siljehout comes through to start another lap. Pace changing in behind to the advantage of the Alpine. I sense the gap between first and second may have come down last time around. No, it's 2 seconds, another 10th gained by Mads Siljehout. What a great race he's having in the lead of the race. So Stéphane Lemeray, the first driver to gain position for a while, but you do sense the driver of that red Phoenix Racing Audi is also going to make a place change sometime soon. Driver on board at the moment, Cedric Freiberghaus. He's looking very, very seriously at the tail of Max Coburn. Coburn doesn't want to be back there. He's second in the championship, but he doesn't want to be running 9th in the race. Any minute now, he might be pleased he's in 9th because it could become 10th. A good little run from the BMW behind the Turkish entered car, Sem Bolokbazi, running in 11th, but not letting them get away from him. Incorrect start between cars with 24 and 16. Well, there are front row starters. They're the KTMs leading the race. I'll keep an eye on further messages from race control. Another person who's being watched is driver of car number 33. That's Stephen Patrick, being watched for respecting track limits. The final corner, turn 16 of 16 here at the MISANO World Circuit. So hopefully no further messages about 24 and 16, our first 2 runners. I thought it looked like a clean start, but again, there's so many things to look at. It's a long shot from the first corner, looking down the rolling start. Keep an eye for further messages, but as it is, Mads Siljehout leading in the number 24 KTM by 2 seconds precisely from Patrick Niederhauser, who in turn is just over 2 seconds ahead of Ewan Mackay. Maybe Mackay is going to be given a gift in the number 8 BMW from SRO Motorsports. He's running third, he can't catch them, he's trying to hang on. Let's take a look at that start all over again. The lights are red, the lights have to go green before they can accelerate. And I'm being told they had the hammer down before the lights went from red. You can't tell from that rear shot, but anyhow, there will be other angles that they'll be looking at it from race control. But certainly they were clear by the first corner. And the real gain was actually from the car that's now running in third place. Really strong start from Ewan Mackay. But a driver who's got his teeth into the battle now is the battle for fourth place. Started third, Stéphane Lemeray, but is pushing very hard indeed. Fell to 5th position, worked his way back past, and he is really pushing very, very hard indeed. He wants to get up into 4th. He wants to oppose the championship leader, Benjamin Lecen, but one little slip up and we'll have Roman Monti attacking all over again in that Bullet Racing Mercedes. It's ebbing and it's flowing. Twitchy washing out front end there from Stéphane Lemeray in the little Alpine, but it's nimble. And as his teammate Pierre-Alexandre Jean said before the start of the race, it's light on its tyres, and that's a big factor at a twisty track in hot, hot weather conditions. Race leader Mads Siljehout under investigation, don't forget. 2.6 seconds clear. Really going incredibly well. With every lap, he stretches his advantage at the head of the race. Leading the way in the Pro-Am class is 8th overall, Marius Zug. We've been seeing this guy. He's been overtaken by a couple of people. Simon Knapp got past him, but Marius leading the way in that Pro-Am class. And leading the way in AM is Dominic Olbert, car number 99. And that is KTM from Morvan Racing. The big rumble as you look at the V8 Racing, number 69, that's the Camaro. Not at the sharp end of the field, but still making a great run. In fact, another place, a drive-through penalty for the front two runners, not maintaining starting speed. It's tricky, it's technical, but obviously the wrong side of that margin. And so, as I said, 2.9 seconds now, nearly 3 seconds clear for the race leader, Mads Siljehout. Patrick Niederhauser second. They're our first two cars. They have a drive-through penalty, so the driver of the Ecris BMW in the background, Ewan Mackay, well, suddenly he's going to become the race leader when these two KTMs, the two cars from True Racing, call into the pits for a drive-through penalty. It's not a stop and go, but it's out of turn 15. Slow down, turn into the pit lane, tight kink into the pit lane on the inside of turn 16, run down the pit lane, and it's quite a long, tricky exit, so it's going to be a big advantage for Ewan Mackay. And he will hand over, surely from the lead of the race, to his teammate Ricardo van der Ende. So suddenly a change in complexion after that jump start. Ewan Mackay is effectively leading the race in his BMW from Benjamin Lessens, the championship leader in his McLaren, and Stefan Lemeray in his Alpine. They will become the top three. They're not yet, waiting for that drive-through penalty for the top two KTMs, the top two runners in this race. Magically, all behind will be promoted. Interesting to see who's going to blink first, which of those KTMs is going to be first one into the pits. Mads Siljehout doesn't fancy it yet, nor does Patrick Niederhauser over the start-finish line one more time. Maybe next time around for their drive-through penalties. And this battle, McLaren at the front, it's 4th, 5th and 6th, but it will become, when the drive-through is served, 2nd, 3rd and 4th for Benjamin Lessens, Stefan Lemeray and Romain Monti. Marius Zug, leading the Pro-Am class, will suddenly be up in 6th place. Marius running nearly 2 seconds down with Simon Knapp, who overtook his BMW with his BMW, but quite comfortable. In fact, the last lap he suddenly got Max Kobel coming onto his tail in that yellow Lippert Motorsport Mercedes, ebbing and flowing a little bit. When will the race leaders come in? And now suddenly Benjamin Sen about to lose a position. Definitely the second part of the race. Stefan Lemeray, after making a bit of a mess at the start, started 3rd, dropped to 5th, fell to 6th. He's worked his way back up to 5th. That just becomes 4th, which in effect, of course, the drive-through penalty will become 2nd. Maybe it's about it staying sweet on its tyres, light on its feet. It really is proving to be an advantage. And this is McLaren going to lose 2 positions in almost 3 corners, certainly under pressure now, because Mercedes in behind the Bullet Racing Mercedes of Romain Monti, looking very lively. But of course, there's the long back straight, and that's where the McLaren finds its form, even goes to challenge, but on the outside through the kinks. That doesn't really work very much on the Alpine, but the Alpine holds sway, and then trying to go past the McLaren, much better under braking as they turn into turn 13 and 14. Romain Monti very brave indeed. Getting close. 2 cars coming to the pit lane. Of course, it's not time for the pit stops. It must be the 2 KTMs. So the cars we're looking at now all about to go down the start-finish straight. When they cross the start-finish line with those KTMs in the pits, here they are. Mads Siljehout, Patrick Niederhauser in the pits. They will all move up 2 positions. Interesting to see how far down the order the KTMs will slot back in. So suddenly, number 66, Romain Monti, running in 3rd position, fancies 2nd. Sorry, he's in 4th, fancies 3rd, because of course Ewan Mackay is leading the race. Ewan Mackay, he's some distance clear of the chasing pack. That really good start from the Scot, 5th up to 3rd, bobbed up and down a bit, but broke clear of everybody else, couldn't match the KTMs, but leading this race comfortably. Benjamin Lessens 3rd, Romain Monti 4th. It's going backwards and forwards between them, but you actually sense the pace with Romain Monti. He just needs to get round the McLaren, but Benjamin Lessens not interested in handing it over to him. and continues in that position. But all the time he does that, I think Stefan Lemeret is able to just pull out a very slight margin in that little blue Alpine, second in the race. Riding on board, looking at the back of one of the MDM Motorsport BMWs. Driven very well. That's looking through the windscreen of Patrick Niederhausen's car. That was Simon Knapp who would have the tail off. See how the drivers are working, looking for position. Great on-board action. Again, you can see the compromise. The Aston Martin just sitting up ahead. That's JP van der Belt, Kurt Bogarts. In fact, we're looking through the windscreen of Jan Reinig. Kurt's in the second of those MDM BMWs. I was thinking it's a sister car. Here's Jan Reinig. There's the graphic showing his speed out of turn 16, trying to get what slipstream he can. It's a very short start-finish straight. Oh, interesting. There's the marker. He's going to hit 197 kilometres an hour, then having to brake hard to get through the first part of this 1-2-3 corner sequence, and he's right on the tail of the 26 BMW. Kurt Bogarts, Jamie van der Belt doing a very good job in the 007 Aston Martin. Well, what other number would you have? Why have 7 when you can have 007 if it's an Aston Martin? Echoing, of course, the number of secret agent James Bond. And a pace change there. Jamie van der Belt, no sooner did I praise him than Kurt Bogarts decided I'm not having that. And motor cars. Jan Reinig now looking very hard indeed at the street art racing Aston Martin. If anything, I might suggest the street art Aston Martin's losing its tyre life, running wide out of turn 8, position lost. There goes Jan Reinig through, but fast enough and is slow out. But Reinig has enough power in the Mercedes to get the traction he required, harness that power. And there is the previous race leader, car number 24, having to charge all over again. The KTM of Bad Siljahaug. He's got to pick his way past this tight battle. They're having fun. They're not necessarily looking out for him. May not have even sussed why he's behind them. They wouldn't have seen him come into the pits. The race leader and the KTM also in second place, in for that drive-through penalty for getting the start wrong indeed. Car 33, drive-through penalty. That's Stephen Patrick. He'd had one warning for abusing track limits. The next person who's possibly in trouble is the driver of car number 14, and that's right at the sharp end of the field. It's the middle of your picture. It's Benjamin Lecens in that white and blue McLaren. He will want to do everything he can to stay between the white lines. Any more offences from him and he'll be following Stephen Patrick into the pits for a drive-through penalty. So at the end of that lap, with Bad Siljahaug and Patrick Niederhausen reinstated in the field, they're not in the top 10. Mats is up into 13. Don't forget he was the race leader, and Patrick Niederhausen 16th. Race leader now by 0.8 of a second is Stefan Lemeret. And Ewan Mackay, as he entered the pits, he's suddenly down in 9th place. So I have to try and find out what happened to Ewan Mackay. I was checking some other factors down the screen, but Stefan Lemeret leading the race. And we've got cars in the pits. I'm just looking for this time, the point on the screen saying he was in the pits. So Ewan Mackay's serving early. Car number 21 at a standstill as well. That's Konstantin Scholl. Tight action. You can see the Phoenix Racing Audi making moves. Cedric Freiberghaus, who's got Max Kobolt's company in the yellow Mercedes. All these drivers aware that you push too hard and you're just going to have no tyre left. Great little battle. The Turkish BMW tucked in behind, trying to do what it's doing, but Cedric Freiberghaus has been advancing. Romain Monti pushing Lemeret hard. What's the gap first to second? It was 0.872 of a second last time round. Looks slightly less, just waiting for the incident. What, 0.39? He's halved it, so under 0.4 of a second between first and second. All along it seemed that the CMR Alpine, smaller than some of its rivals, sort of late 110, was able to use its tyres better, but Romain Monti is nothing if not brave at certain points on the circuit. And is just able to pull his way back onto its tail, but you can just see how much more nimble the Alpine is. So Stefan Lemeret should be handing that over surely from the lead to Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Hunting. Another warning for car 33, that's Stephen Patrick. He's already got to serve a drive-through penalty. He's just got another warning for exceeding track limits at turn 2. The sister car, number 66, Romain Monti, really going very, very well indeed. All over the tail of Stefan Lemeray. So Alpine leading the race from Mercedes. Third place, Benjamin Lecen. Don't forget he's got a warning, and car 33, bad has gone to worse because 60-second stop and go penalty due to abuse of track limits for Stephen Patrick. So already having the drive-through, it's been made worse for him by a further offence, and now that's turned into 1 minute stop and go penalty. Trying to see where the advantage comes down the straight. Seems a bit more grunt from the Mercedes. The Alpine very, very nimble though. And the McLaren that was so good on the straight, dropping away slightly in the hands of Benjamin Lecen. But don't forget, this is a car, its record this season is victory, victory, third, sixth, retirement, second. So always in the ballpark. And again here at MISANO is very much in the mix in that third place. Ewan Mackay was leading the race down in 9th, but don't forget the pole starter Mads Siljehoug fell down to about 20th position with the drive-through penalty. He's up to 12th, just picked off Kim Bogarts. Patrick Niederhauser also trying to make his way up the order, but he's a few seconds further back, a few places further back, so the KTMs have the mountain to climb all over again. Romain Monti having fun, giving chase. Stefan Lemeray cool, calm and collected in the CMR Alpine. A lot of the runners about a second off their fastest pace, if not slightly more. In fact, the ones closest to their fastest pace, the ones at the front of the field, the ones slightly further back, the ones there's more of a gap, some 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds off their fastest lap. So it shows how the life of the tyres have really suffered during the heat of this opening stint of this 1 hour race. You don't get much Alpine, much slipstream from an Alpine. Small, low and sleek, but certainly whatever is there, Romain Monti is trying to harness, trying to gather, trying to draw that bullet racing right on the tail so he can get close enough to make a passing manoeuvre. He's getting close, just not quite close enough to make a move. There's turn 15. Here comes turn number 16. Gap back to third place, back to Benjamin Lecen. Was a 10th gained by Stefan Lemeray in the lead of the race. Is now 3.6 seconds from first back to Benjamin Lecen's McLaren in third place. Marius Sug, leading Pro-Am, is up into 5th place overall. What a run he's having for our Envision STS in the little BMW. And in AM class, it's Dom Albert, number 99, More Than Racing KTM. Really good run for him in AM, Austrian racer. What you do if you can't get past the car in front of you, you flash your headlights. The pit window is now open, so those earlier visitors like Mika Stanley, Konstantin Scholl, it wasn't something that they were doing on purpose, it was something because things were not right. But this 10-minute pit window will be open until it says 25 minutes left at the top of our screen. Race 1 of 2, and now I'm just starting to hear the first few cars coming into the pits. Past my commentary position. The first 2 runners are enjoying it so much they want to stay out as long as they possibly can. In fact, clear track ahead of them, a big advantage for these 2 runners because they could, within a few laps, have a handful of cars, the slower cars coming out in front of them. So every metre they can gain while the track is clear would really have a role to play in the outcome of this race. Stefan Lemeray being pushed by Romain Monti, alongside but not giving him the position. Into the final corner they come, turn 16, looking for grunt. The nose of the Alpine is still surely just in front of the start-finish line. It was 0.499 of a second last time around. I can't tell you who's going to be in front. I think it's still Lemeray. 0.098, less than a tenth of a second is first to second. Is this going to give an advantage for the chasing Benjamin Lecen? Last time around, all very, very even, but the pits are suddenly super busy. Only the top few runners did not come in. The top 5 or 6 runners Marius Suk went from 5th place down into the pit. Simon Knapp's coming to the pit. So up go Cemboluk Bazi to 4th place in the blue Turkish entered BMW, and Francesco Castellacci in the V8 Racing Camaro. They've now moved into 4th and 5th positions. But this lead battle is relentless. It's going to go all the way until whichever one flinches. I think they'll have to see what the traffic is, decide when they need to come in. Here is the car that started second on the grid, the number 16, Patrick Niederhauser KTM from True Racing. That's going to be handed over to Reinhard Koffler. They need a good result because Koffler didn't get to set a flying lap in his qualifying session. So for the second race, their car will be starting right at the back. I suppose you could say the drive-through penalty for Niederhauser and Mads Siljehout gives Niederhauser and the crew an experience of how to get up through the field. They've had to do it partway through this race. There's the 33 car Mercedes in for Bullet Racing. Not only making a pit stop, it's got that 1 minute stop and go penalty as well. Just bear that in mind. And then suddenly, way out wide, first becomes not second, it becomes third for our race leader, Stefan Lemeret. Must be a puncture. Yes, the front left has cried enough. The car I stupidly said was light on its tyres. Clearly the pace and the pressure it was having to run ahead of Roman Monti was just too much. So out of the corner, out of turn 16, into the lead of the race now, not by overtaking in his own right, but by the fact that Stefan Lemeret, how cruel it was for the the Belgian racer, suddenly having front left puncture, down it went, made it into the pit lane. I suppose if you're going to have it, have your tyre go down right at the end of the lap, but as you can see, a lot of time being lost as Stefan comes in. That's got to be changed. The driver change will have to be affected as well. And instead of heading out in a dream position for Pierre-Alexandre Jean, it will be a recovery drive. And suddenly for Bullet Racing, one car served a stop-go penalty, the other is now leading the race. Not yet come in to make its pit stop, but will be heading in surely from the lead. So for Alex Lamberts, we heard from him on the grid before the start of the race. Suddenly he'll be looking very nervous, I'd expect, because he might not have expected to be taking over from the lead, but the lead car continuing on its way. Romain Monti, 3 and a bit seconds clear of Benjamin Lessen in the Keep Vishaw McLaren. That's the number 2 Mercedes, Leipert Motorsport, Lucy Treffs, very good runner in the Pro-Am class, comes into the pit lane. So in the next few minutes we'll have the order completely re-established. We've still got only halfway, not even quite halfway through the 10-minute pit window. And anybody who stays out too long will suffer. Now we're getting the mixing of the cars that have made the pit stops and those that have yet to come in, which leads to slight confusion. But number 66 definitely has not been in the pits. That is Romain Monti. It was always likely he was going to run as long as he could. He was having a really good run. Worked his way up to challenge for the lead, couldn't quite get it. And then the puncture, front left puncture for Stefan Lemeret in the little CMR Alpine, really was very, very cruel indeed. Lights flashing, communicating with the team, communicating with the gaggle of cars up ahead of him. I am the race leader. If you want to look in your mirror, it says 001 and the green lights on my windscreen. They're my positional indicator. Keep out of my way, but it seems so. 2 cars ahead, fighting very hard indeed. May not be looking backwards. Hopefully the marshals will give them some flagging to let them know. Keep out of the way, keep out of the way. And Pierre-Alexandre Jean gets underway, but a lot of time would have been lost down in the pits. We don't know exactly how much, but the fact it said 23rd on the windscreen indicates that obviously, while a lot of runners still hadn't made their pit stops, many places have been squandered. Benjamin Lessen into the pits in the McLaren, championship leader. He'll be handing over to the other Mackay, to Dan Mackay. For Romain Monti, I think he might be forced to come in slightly earlier than he planned. He's got this gaggle of cars up ahead. Maybe this time around he'll go, okay, you're going to block me for the next lap. Might be better if I just came in and handed over to Dan Mackay here and now. Looking for him to jink out of turn 15 and go to the left when he gets there. See if he does so, or he might decide he's got another lap that shouldn't be too interrupted. But he's going down towards the end of the lap, and I'm fairly sure he'll come in this time around. Out over the curbs at turn 14, so many drivers running wide there. Cemboluk Bazi up into second place by dint of not having made a pit stop either. And how wrong I am. Romain Monti's decided one more lap, I can squeeze that one in. Have got traffic up ahead, but maybe they're running fast enough not to trouble him too much. He's certainly getting closer to that little CMR Alpine. And now working very, very hard indeed. Alec Udell taken over from Simon Knapp. So these are the ones that are effectively the leaders of those that are pitted. And the MDM car and the Blancpain Motorsport car, small surprise, they're fighting for good honours there because their cars that are very, very well placed in the championship, second and third. Lane relatively quiet now, last few cars just waiting to come in. Romain Monti just going around, and surely this time he will say, my stint has been a good one, I've inherited the lead of the race, but certainly maybe I pressured him even into having that puncture, certainly putting so much pressure onto the tail of the CMR Alpine. Traffic, it's very tight, 111. Gabriele Piana, look for him, he's got ahead of the number 4 of Jan Kissel, which is the Blancpain Motorsport car. Don't forget, Kissel's car was second in the championship coming here. Gabriele Piana, very, very talented Italian driver. Well, he's listed as 12th, but blink an eye, look at the screen again in about 30 seconds. And, with the front-running cars having finally made their pit stops, still waiting for Romain Monti. Now he's surely about to enter the pit stops. Then we'll have this rejigging of the timing screens. But what we can see are the battles, really tight battles of those who've made their stops and are now trying to proceed along their way. Dan Mackay at the front of the group is there in the background, having just caught the tail of the pit stoppers, is our race leader. He left it fairly late, couldn't have managed another lap before the pit stop, so he dives in. 1.5 minutes remaining. Bullet Racing's number 66 car, Romain Monti, will hand over to Alex Lamberts. Should slot back into the lead of the race. Also waiting for Mads Siljehaug to come in. He started on pole position, led away in the race, was controlling proceedings. He's already had a pit stop, but now that was for a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, along with the fellow front row starter Patrick Niederhauser. Now he's making his second call to the pits, and that will drop him all the way down the order all over again. But just how tight is this? Dan Mackay right ahead of Alec Udell, Gabriele Piana in the mix as well, the second of those two BMWs. Jan Kissel, very, very tight indeed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars covered by nothing. And Dan Mackay just almost being given a shove up the track from Alec Udell, the American, really enjoying his time in Europe. But he's got to watch it. He's got Gabriele Piana, who looks quicker than he does. There's the car that Romain Monti brought in from the lead in the race. Gets going, but only just finds enough revs to go. Don't want too many revs in the pit lane in case you're pinged for speeding. Driver of car number 4, Jan Kissel, given the black and white flag, warning flag for driving standards. He's in the mix in this battle. Just look, there he is, the yellow-nosed Mercedes, tucked in behind Gabriele Piana's number 111 BMW. So any more rough and tumble, things will be difficult. There's the Borissan Automotive BMW leaving the pits as well. That should be in the top 10. It should join in probably just in the middle of this battle. Won't that be fun? Alex Lamberts coming back out, will be into the lead of the race surely, just looking to see who's going to tuck in behind. There, wait for the cars to come from the left of the screen. That'll be the car which next one round will be the car in second place. That is how good an advantage he had, how large an advantage is the McLaren. Dan Mackay second, and as we say that, he's being put under pressure from Alec Udell, Gabriele Piana right on his tail. Jan Kissel, the driver, in behind. He's the one with the warning for driving standards. Must behave. The car on the tail of Kissel is not in the hunt. It's a lap down. It's car number 48, David Loja, running the CMR Alpine in the AM class. A lap down, but actually enjoying the action. And then the background of the shot, Ricardo van der Ende. Ewan Mackay led the race, suddenly dropped down to 9th place. Got going again, and BMW is coming back at the pack. And as this fight continues, half an hour, well, 25 minutes left in the race, 23 minutes left in the race. It's all really, really good news for the 66 Bullet Racing Mercedes. Alex Lamberts at the wheel. One second stop and go penalty due to pit stop time. Just going too soon for number 22. Oh, how galling. That's one of the two Allied Racing Porsche Caymans, Jan Kasperlik and Nicholas Scholl. So the second they gain, they more than lose driving into the pit lane, stopping for 1 second to get going again. That will tumble them way, way down the order. And talking of drivers down the order, that number 9 Alpine that assumed the lead of the race when the KTMs went into the pit lane is now down in the hands of Pierre-Alexandre Jean in 22nd position. How cruel the situation has become for them. A lap ago, I picked out that Ricardo van der Ende was catching this battle, second through to sixth. He's still in sixth. He's deposed the Alpine that was a lap down. He's the fastest of the grouping. Alec Udell trying to find an advantage somewhere, anywhere to take second place. MDM Motorsport have taken 2 wins at the last meeting. Simon Knapp, Alec Udell, position gained up into second. Daniel Mackay couldn't hang on in the championship, leading McLaren. Now he's made a bit of a mistake that may become 2 places lost in 2 corners. Can Gabriele Piana go past in the 111? BMW, yes he can, in the kink at turn 7, coming down to turn 8, the hairpin. This could be very interesting indeed. Someone's gone off at turn 10 in the background. McLaren is being monster, but Jan Kisiel is now being pushed by Ricardo van der Ende. Look, the white BMW with the stripes going sideways up its nose has gone past the yellow Mercedes, so the Lippert car going backwards. Here's the driver on the move, Ekris on the door, the star in the car. Ricardo van der Ende caught the group, now starting to pick them off one by one. Just going to have a little bit of KTM checking, looking at my timing screens. Number 24 car that started at the front of the field is with Phil Hill on board now in 10th place. 2 positions here ahead of Reinhard Koffler. 10th and 12th. Could so easily have been 1st and 2nd, but they got going just apparently a little bit too soon on the rolling start. They're paying the price. Another person who's paying the price is Daniel Mackay. It just seems like the car doesn't want to behave for him. Somehow still holding off Ricardo van der Ende. Now he's being challenged by the Lippert Mercedes as well, but van der Ende almost having a look into turn at number 16, the final corner. Will tuck under the tail of the far lower McLaren up the start-finish straight. Maybe try and make a move up into turn 1, but it's tight. It's not a given. He's caught, but he cannot pass, and all the time he does that, the 2 BMWs in front, running 2nd and 3rd, Alec Udell and Gabriele Piana, building their advantage, breaking away, but surely it's going to be McLaren. BMW 2nd and 3rd, we can see them there. Will they be 4th? Ricardo van der Ende pushing, he's still back in 5th. Now he's got company on the outside, the Mercedes for Jan Kisiel. Maybe a lap down, but that David Loge is enjoying being in the background of this battle. The number 48 CMR Alpine. Certainly not embarrassed by speed. And the car joining to have fun, Nikolai Moller-Madsen. The red Phoenix Racing Audi has joined the pack. He's on the tail of the Lippert Motorsport Mercedes. Through turn 8 they go, almost side by side. The red, you can see much more of the red nose of the Audi on the outside line into turns 9, the little kink to the right, and then turn 10. He'll have to tuck in behind and try it all over again. But certainly a driver on the move is the driver of that Phoenix Racing Audi. And on this lap, 2nd is not necessarily a given for Alec Udell, because Gabriele Piana, leading the Pro-Am class handsomely by about 10 positions, is pushing very hard. The 111 BMW M4 really wants to put in a top result here in Italy. And he's going to have to choose his moment very carefully indeed, because Alec Udell having a great race. Meanwhile, race leader Alex Lamberts 10.6 seconds clear. No one to fight with, no one to play with. That long opening stint for Romain Monzi, clearly an inspired idea. He was going well, he was at the sharp end of the field, he stayed out as long as he could, and it's really reaped dividends. Now the hardest thing, it's about track position. Dan Mackay holding position, he's about to be shoved wide because Ricardo van der Ende has made a move. It just is like this McLaren no longer wants to handle. Jan Kisiel comes through in the number 4 Audi and also looking to make a place. 3 places lost in no time at all. Yeah, we've got Nikolai Moller-Madsen coming through, the little Alpine, tucked in behind David Logier, that is. Looking for the gap, back to the best of the KTMs. Reinhard Koffler has gained another position. 2.4 seconds down on the big V8 Camaro from Duncan Houseman, so making progress. But here's Ricardo van der Ende, 4th on the track. Start of the lap, the 4th place is held by Dan Mackay in the Keep Vishal McLaren Championship leader. But Mackay really struggling now. Oh, another problem. Car number 24, the KTM, back in the pits. Position lost, time lost, a 1 second stop and go penalty. Oh, dearie me. Started on pole position, controlling the race. It's gone wrong, not just for jumping the start, but now pit stop penalty. That's absolutely blown all hope for Phil Hill. He was trying to build on the work of his teammate at Siljahaug, but it's really been an unfortunate afternoon for them here at Misano. Just over a quarter of an hour, 17.5 minutes remaining in this race. Alex Lambert's leading easily. This is the battle for second place, the battle on your screens. Alec Udell doing everything to resist the challenge of Gabriele Piana. The pale blue BMW gets close, falls back a little bit. It's fallen back and is now coming back again, but the car really going backwards. Is Dan Mackay in the McLaren down to 7th place. As this BMW, Ricardo van der Ende, goes up into 4th. Jan Kissel, 2nd in the championship, moves up to 5th, and Nikolai Moller-Madsen in the red Phoenix Racing Audi is into 6th. McLaren backwards to 7th. Jan Kissel in the Mercedes seems to be rejuvenated at this point. Seems as though this is a car that does have tyre life. People were saying that for GT4 the Mercedes is a tyre that keeps its cars really quite sweet. Certainly looked very sweet for Alex Lamberts in the Bullet Racing. Mercedes leading by 10.9 seconds last time around and the previous time. He's not getting away, he's doing what he needs to do at the front of the field. Keep it calm as you possibly can, and bearing in mind that he's only just got into this car this weekend. The second of the Bullet cars has changed hands a couple of times this season. It certainly is making a splash as he and Romain Monti join the team and do so with considerable aplomb. A little bit of help from the opposition, but don't take it away from them. They were really right in the mix, come what may. Yes, problems for the two KTMs, but you take what's given to you. Two BMWs, the implacable Alec Udell and the light flashing Gabriele Piana, trying to make his presence known. Coming up on the slowest of the KTMs, that's the one in the AM class, that's Honda Erdem. Now, one's going to pass one way, one maybe on the other, maybe not. Honda's trying to stay as wide as he can. Gabriele looking to see if maybe he could find some advantage in the traffic, but in that situation he was always more likely to be compromised than benefiting from all around him. Positions stay as they were. Alec Udell just managing to keep control of second place from Gabriele Piana. Gabriele will not give up trying though. Looks like the position finally is going to change. Up on the inside into turn 8. Has he braked too late? No, he has not. Of course, Alec Udell will try and fight back. Slightly can get the power down a little earlier out of the hairpin, but he's on the wrong side as they go through the kink at turn 9, down to the wider hairpin at turn number 10. So, a place change. That's the second place, now in the hands of the Pro-Am class leader. Good move there by Gabriele Piana. You could see it coming, and there was nothing Alec Udell could do about it. And he was very gentlemanly, he didn't just drive over and block, he accepted it. Still got time in this race, just under a quarter of an hour to try and fight back. No change in the battle between Ricardo van der Ende and Jan Kissel for 4th place. It's still the BMW ahead of the Mercedes. Nikolai Moller-Madsen got close to them, but is actually maybe slightly falling off their tail in the best of the Audis. Let's see, last time around, yes, he lost half a second. Pair ahead of him last time around in that 6th place. That's why the red Audi has dropped off the tail of the yellow Mercedes. Gap between 1st and 2nd has come down somewhat. It's 10.9 seconds, it's now 9.9 seconds, but certainly, as I said, Alex Lamberts doesn't have to push too hard. He can be sensible. It's a luxury most of the drivers in the field do not have. And Gabriele Piana slightly stretching his legs in 2nd place. Alec Udell held him off for so much. And Phil Hill, having had the 3rd visit to the pits, whereas most of the drivers have only visited once, is down in 18th position, so cursing getting his teammate getting the rolling start wrong, and then either one of them making a mistake in the pit lane. Probably the person holding the stopwatch. The car went before its minimum time, all back in to serve the second that they were under the minimum pit stop time. But you combine that with the time of running in through one end of the pits and out of the other, and you can imagine how hard that situation has hit them. Dan Mackay is slid back another position to 9th overall. Came here leading the championship with Benjamin Sen. We saw them at the sharp end of the field, but all is not right, down to 9th overall. And such has been the pace of those two KTMs either side of their pit stop visits, is that the car that passed Mackay for 8th place last time around was Reinhard Koffler, driving the car that started second and was driven in the early laps of the race by Patrick Niederhauser. He's then got a big gap to all of those up ahead, 2 and a bit seconds to catch Duncan Houseman, but really flying very well indeed. So Gabriele Piana now safe in that second place, 9.4 seconds down on the race leading Mercedes of Alex Lamberts, but the 25 BMW in behind. MDM Motorsport car, Alec Udell, 1.2 seconds behind. He's now starting to get a bit of pressure from Ricardo van der Ende. Ricardo is hauling him in, gained more than half a second the last time around. The pale blue car in second place, leading Pro-Am. That's Gabriele Piana. But look how Ricardo van der Ende and the Mercedes of Jan Kiesel were closing right in on Alec Udell. Alec ran second, was pressed for lap after lap by Gabriele Piana. Maybe that's taken the best part off the tyres, because Ricardo van der Ende has just been coming relentlessly forward, and perhaps even faster than van der Ende. The pace, late race pace of Jan Kiesel, very, very strong in the light of Motorsport Mercedes. Not so long ago, Alec Udell in the 25 MDM Motorsport BMW was being flashed from behind by BMW. That was the one that went past him, and for Gabriele Piana, now history is repeating, and this time it's Ricardo van der Ende who's not only flashing the lights but also being actually probably rather more decisive in making the moves than Piana had been. Hasn't happened yet, still third place in the hands of Alec Udell, but Ricardo van der Ende through the final corner, or into the final corner. The move is coming, and the Mercedes is in the background, right in the background. The yellow-nosed Mercedes of Jan Kiesel fancies a place change, fancies it's going to go to his advantage. Not yet, not in turn 1. Here they are, turn 2, up the inside into turn 2. There won't be space, will there be contact? No, thankfully there isn't, but Jan Kiesel tried to then say, I'm on the inside into turn number 3. It didn't quite work. It's not going to work at turn 4, but there's a jink here, a dive there. And as they do that, they slow themselves down. And that's allowed Nikolai Müller-Madsen in the red Phoenix Racing Audi right onto their tail as well. Driver of car 35 being warned for exceeding track limits. That's Grégoire Demoustier, who's showing with Alain Ferté. Alain had that problem on the opening lap. The car right down in 24th position, but had they kept it on the black stuff, they'd have been far closer to the sharp end of the field. Nikolai Müller-Madsen, you see him in the Phoenix Racing car, and the metallic blue car behind it, the larger looking one, is Duncan Houseman, up into 7th, the V8 Racing Camaro. He's slowly but surely coming up the order. Looks like he's been challenging Nikolai Müller-Madsen. Talking of challenging the battle for 3rd place, it's still Alec Udell, but relentless pressure from Ricardo van der Ende. Now, I really do fancy the pace in the late stage of the race is with Duncan Houseman. He was out of the back of the shot. He's joined this battle from effectively 3rd place back to about 7th. Then could yet, with just under 10 minutes remaining in the race, under 9 minutes now, get in the mix. I think you have to say, even though the gap between Alex Lamberts and the race-leading Mercedes and Gabriele Piana is coming down, it's only by 1/10 of a second, so it's 9.3 seconds. Then it's 3.5 second gap back to Alec Udell. There is Udell in 25 BMW. In behind, Ricardo van der Ende, still hanging in there, Jan Kiesel. Nikolai Müller-Madsen go to a slightly wider shot, hopefully. And then we'll see just how close that bright blue Camaro is. Yes, it's getting closer and closer in the background. Still in 7th. If we just wait a second longer, there's a KTM in behind, and that is the best of the KTMs at the moment. It's Reinhard Koffler. That started second. Patrick Niederhauser did the opening stint, but it's now joined in the fun, showing it could have been right up there at the sharp end. Could have been challenging for the lead. It isn't, but it's challenging for position. There's the KTM, black and white and orange in the background and getting closer all the time. Having a little glance down the order, of course. Pro-Am class is being led by the car in second place. Great run for Gabriele Piana in the RN Vision STS BMW. Started by Marius Zug, and Gabriele Piana gaining positions through the course race. Leading the way in the AM class, 18th place overall, one of the three Selesla Racing Team Mercedes, and it's the one that's very well placed in the championship, in the AM Championship, and it's Jean-Luc Behet at the moment at the wheel of that. Came here fourth on points in the AM Championship, sure to move right up the order. And here comes that KTM I was talking about, round the outside of Duncan Houseman, trying to make it stick. The KTM going around the Camaro. The Camaro fighting back. But the KTM gets through, so it's never over until it's over. Reinhard Koffler up into 7th place overall, Duncan Houseman down to 8th. The deal is done, the move is made. Next target for Reinhard Koffler is the red Phoenix Racing Audi, Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Alec Udell, MDM Motorsport BMW, there he is, number 25, tucked in behind Jan Kissiel. Lots of pressure on him. Ricardo van der Ende, so the place changed last time around. Kissiel going ahead of van der Ende. An incident further down the field. Car 31 going for rotation around the head of the Schwede Motorsports Mercedes. Dominic Schrammel at the wheel at that point. Here's what it's like from on board. Up the inside, round you go. Thank you. Seen all of your flank. Off to the side of the circuit. Now, as mentioned earlier, drivers say the Mercedes is very good at keeping its tyres sweet. So the race leader, Alex Lambert's 8.8 seconds clear. He's got life in his tyres. He's coasting home in many ways, but it's the driver of the number 4 Mercedes, Life at Motorsport. Not on the podium yet, but is it a matter of time? Is he going to get past Alec Udell? Alec actually has a tiny bit of breathing space because Ricardo van der Ende is now trying to fight back in 5th place, get onto the tail of the Mercedes. You really feel when the battling is this tight in the GT4 European Series, it's about a driver losing momentum because of a little mistake, and that is when we've seen several drivers, one little slip, and they've suddenly lost 2, even 3 places. So they're fully aware of that. Jan Kissiel, he's been behind Ricardo van der Ende. He got past a lap or so ago, and now maybe it was a mistake by van der Ende. Van der Ende's got his nose in front all over again, but he's on the wrong line. He's on the outside line, needs to be across, and so this gives what Alec Udell will be very, very thankful for, a tiny little bit of breathing space for the American who's holding down 3rd position. Better lap from our race leader, Alex Lamberts, who eked out a bit of an advantage, 9.1 seconds clear now, Gabriele Piana. Gabriele can relax, he's got 4.5 seconds advantage over Alec Udell. Udell, as you can see, leading this long line of cars. The yellow Mercedes of Jan Kissiel in 4th place. Then comes Ricardo van der Ende, the white BMW in the middle of your shot, the Ectris car. And then making progress all the time, Reinhard Koffler has gone past Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Nikolai Moller-Madsen has Duncan Houseman all over him. So the KTM that started second, ran second, had that drive-through penalty, is now up into 6th position. Surely he can't get any more. Oh, up the inside, he went ahead, and then suddenly position changed because Nikolai Moller-Madsen takes it back all over again. But when the track gets really, really tight and twisty, as you can see at that point, far more handling for the KTM crossbow. It is so nimble. Great racing action. Not all the moves obvious from the outset, but they're just putting the pressure on, keeping the pressure on, probing here, probing there. A feint to the left, a feint to the right. The hit rate isn't high, but it's relentless. They keep on trying, seeing where an advantage will come their way. vast majority of the run is still going. Still got 28 cars circulating all the way down to Onder Erdem in the little Rezoon More Than Racing KTM down in the AM class, 28th overall. Lots of time through the course of the race, however. But this is the battle that's drawing the eye. The battle between Alec Udell in third place, Jan Kissel in fourth, Ricardo van der Ende in fifth. Then a bit of a gap back to sixth place. Now back in the hands of Nikolai Moller-Madsen in his Audi. Reinhard Koffler, who got past him, has now lost that position and may be about to lose out and end up in eighth behind Duncan Houseman. They're just out of our shot. Duncan Houseman on the outside, the K-team up the inside, so for a little while longer, Reinhard Koffler will hold on to that seventh place, but he's really, really under pressure. The clock relentlessly ticking down towards the end of the hour of racing. We have another race tomorrow. That's very, very good news for Bullet Racing. This will be their best results since inception. This, I believe, is their third season. Started off with Stephen Patrick and Andy Merrick. They're still racing together as a pair. The chances in this race limited by a drive-through, a stop-and-go penalty. So Andy Merrick, in fact, yes, down in 25th position, just gained a place last time around. But it's the sister car with a new lineup, Alex Lamberts and Romain Monti leading the race. 9 or so seconds clear. The battle behind is 9.5 seconds clear. It's stretching it over Gabriele Pana. Second place, third place is the second of the BMWs. It's Alec Udell. They've had great results since he came over to Europe. They won, he and his teammate Simon Knapp won both races at the last round, and he's trying to hang on to third position, but the yellow Mercedes from Blancpain Motorsport with Jan Kissel at the wheel is probing this way, pushing that way. Ricardo van der Ende as they go through turn 4 and towards turn 5, trying to see if there's a chink, but there's not a lot of space in Misano. You almost have to drive a wedge between the cars in front to get past. Ricardo van der Ende seems to lose quite a little bit of ground. In fact, he's lost a position. He's going backwards as he got a puncture now in the background. We've suddenly got a change of position. Nikolai Moller-Madsen is up into 5th position. 2 corners ago, van der Ende was right on the tail of this little grouping. Starting to happen. There is his car going backwards, the Ecris Motorsport car. Oh, how cruel for them. Number 8 had a problem early in the race with Ewan Mackay. Suddenly went from first down to 9th. Is it an intermittent problem? It's come back to haunt him, but he's losing positions hand over fist. One person not doing that into the final 30 seconds of the race. Surely coasting to victory, driven beautifully. Alex Lamberts stroking it home for Bullet Racing. Mercedes number 66 clear, the big B, stylized B on the door. Had an advantage of 9.5 seconds, and small change over the chasing Gabriele Piana. But job done beautifully over the start-finish line. On to, there it is, caught the very finish of the race. The checkered flag thrown in his face there. Will be victory for Alex Lamberts in the Pro-Am class. It'll be the car that finishes in second place. But how far down the order will Ricardo van der Ende fall at the end of the race? Alec Udell waiting for the checkered flag to greet him. In the end, it was 1 position lost, but another lap, and you really feel whatever the problem was for van der Ende, either it was intermittent, came in and went away. He was able to fight to the finish without losing more than 1 further position. So he came home in 6th place overall. I did fear it might be rather worse than that for van der Ende. Duncan Houseman 7th, Reinhard Koffler 8th, the second car in Pro-Am. The number 12 entry, the Borusan Automotive BMW, with Okiai at the wheel. Ibrahim Okiai finishes in 9th, and 10th place, Pierre-Alexandre Jean. That was a good comeback drive. That was a car that had 2 visits to the pits when 1 would have done. Had the puncture. That was a car that could have won, maybe should have won, but anyhow, come the end of the race, at least into the top 10. And doing the housekeeping, just to point out, the Pro-Am was won by the car that finished second overall, Gabriele Piana. And second in class was Okiai. Third was Mark Basseng in number 11. And in the AM class, victory in 15th place overall, the Salazar Racing number 32 Mercedes with Jean-Luc Behet at the wheel. Several places clear of Clement Seiler in the Aston Martin from Street Art Racing. And third place in class, Gabi Ulgi scoring good points for the Las Maras Racing McLaren team, run by Keith Verscheur. But there's the winner. Romain Monti will be there to greet Alex Lamberts in Parc Fermé. I thought Alex looked very cool when he was interviewed on the grid before the start of the race when Dakota caught up with him, and she'll probably have a chance to speak to him all over again, because Interpark Ferme will come car 66. And the last few finishes coming across the finish line. So there we have it. It's like we've been given a bonus lap there, because it was right at the end of an hour's racing. It was, believe it or not, 1 hour, 0 seconds, 0.069. So it was very, very tight indeed for Alex Lambert. It's about as precise as you could be for finishing a race with an hour on the clock. So 69 thousandths made all the difference. The rivals go for one further lap, but it gives them a chance to just cool down. And cooling down will be the order of the day. Romain Monti's had a chance. Alex Lambert doesn't appear to know how to undo the door latch. He'll be out any second now. Yes, of course he does. Safety element waving to the pit crew there. That's how you arrive in a championship. You turn up, you get a new team, a new teammate, and you win the race. And for Bullet Racing, the considerable celebration there.
Amazing. First one.
Very happy, Romain Monti, number one.
Amazing.
I don't think they can quite believe that. Certainly the KTMs that looked to have the pace, that were leading away, had their problems. The drive-through penalty for the two of them. But it wasn't without a hard drive from Romain Monti in particular to work his way to the front, to harry Stéphane Lemeray in the little Alpine. Then Lemeray had that puncture, and the gift became one that was too good to give back. And for Alex Lambert, when he assumed the lead of the race after Romain Monti pitted very late, came back out. There's the margin of victory, 10.4 seconds. Not just a first win for the team, but a big win for Bullet Racing. Alex Lambert's brought it home. Romain Monti did the spade work. They will enjoy their evening very much indeed. Marius Zug and Gabriele Piana, their BMW from RN Vision STS. Second place overall, those 10 and a bit seconds down, but clear victors in the Pro-Am class. And Simon Knapp and Ali Udell, always at the front end of the field, held off the train of cars before. Alec will feel very tired indeed after that battle, but it was a great one here at Misano, and he took to home that third position. And in the AM class there, you can see the top of the screen, Clement Seiler, number 17, brought home Pascal Bachmann. The car he started for second in class, but the car that beat them in the AM class, number 32, a little higher up the order in 14th place overall. But great race, full of incidents, and there'll certainly be plenty of chat about the top two KTMs being given a drive-through penalty, and then for one of them there was a pit infringement as well, and that's why the number 24 car, fastest car out there, ended up down in 50s. But let's go down and hear from our winners, Alex Lambert and Romain Monti.
Guys, a massive congratulations. As Bruce said, I'm chatting to you again, Alex, but in a much better place than on the grid, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it has been a very long 25 minutes for me in the car. Yeah, but Romain did a great job in the beginning, and yeah, it was a great feeling. First race in GT4 and first win.
There you go, Romain, back on the podium again. How does that feel?
Yeah, it is really, really great. It's the first time with Alex, first time with the team, first time with the car, and all the things just come together. It's just an amazing feeling. Alex did also an amazing job. The car was amazing since the beginning of the pre-practices. It was just why to not die there. But yeah, it's just a really good first time in the end.
I think he feels your competition, trying to take you out.
Yeah.
No, anyway, good luck for the next race. Congratulations for this one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Dakota down with two very happy drivers, and I think for Alex Lambert's in particular, great relief. As he said, first race in GT4. Of course, far more experienced French teammate there, Romain Monti. He's raced pretty much everything. He's raced GT3, GT4, Lamborghini, but he's a driver who can deliver, and he showed great racecraft in the early stages of the race. So conversations down there, plenty of racing out there on the circuit, but don't forget, those two KTM crossbows looked quick, had their problems, and one of them starting down the order tomorrow as well, the number 16 car. They've shown the pace. Going back to the start of the race, from the front, you couldn't tell that those KTMs may have got away before the red lights turned to green on the starting gantry. They were first and second into the first corner. Tidy in behind with Ewan Mackay making great moves in the BMW to go from 5th to 3rd. And there, unfortunately, is one of the Aston Martins going down towards the tail of the field. David Griesner really losing out, being given a bit of a shove there. Then the drive-through penalties, and these two KTMs came out. They had to come back in for their first pit stop, or their planned pit stop, and they came out in about 20th position, had to fight their way back up the order. And then this great battle for the lead. Stéphane Lemeray in the little CMR Alpine. Why did he drop back? He had a front left puncture. That cost him the lead. Romain Monti stayed out as long as he could, and he came into the pits, handed over the 66 Bullet Racing Mercedes to his teammate Alex Lambert's. And then the best battle of the race raged for an age between Gabriele Piana, just making the move there to go into second place ahead of Alec Udell. Then Alec had the rest of the race with so much company. He had Jan Kisil all over his tail, but somehow kept the yellow Mercedes behind him to hold on to third place. Spinners up and down the order they come. It's a circuit that encourages spins in so many ways, but for Alex Lamberts, no spins from him. 10.5 seconds his margin of victory at the end of the race, right on the dot of 1 hour. And no wonder he was so happy, and Roman Monti running out to greet his winner. The team really happy indeed, just waiting for Roman. There he is, looking cool, calm, and taking the full quota of points. So just to look at the top of the championship table, Kisil and Cobalt now at the top. It's super tight, just 2 points clear of Simon Knapp and Alec Udell. Championship leaders when they came here, Dan Mackay and Benjamin Lassen, didn't come away with the points they wanted today. Slide back to third place overall. And certainly it's a championship that's going to go all the way. And certainly the pace of Reinhard Koffer and Patrick Niederhauser. Their gun was spiked today with too many visits to the pits, but they have got race-winning pace. So they're right in the mix as well. This is the Silver Cup class at the top of GT4. And right at the end of the race, there was a retirement for Dan Mackay and Patrick Lassen. Benjamin Lassen, just to point out, no points for them today. Came here leading, showed the pace, but something was clearly going wrong towards the end of the race. No finish for them. And in the Pro-Am Cup, Marcus Pavrud and Lucy Treff came here at the top of the points table. Their point gap has been really reduced by that great run from Marius Zug, who started, and Gabriele Piana, who chased and took it up to second place overall. Super happy for the RN Vision STS BMW team. Alain Ferté, Grégoire de Moustier holding on to third place, but they've fallen back somewhat with a troubled race today. Ended up down in about 20th position. In fact, precisely in 20th position. So that's the Pro-Am Cup honours, and the top car in AM today. Really, really good run. 14th place overall for car number 32, Celerstar Racing Team. And how did that help them? Pascal Bachmann and Clement Seiler still leading the class. Look at that, 23-point advantage. But the crew that won the class today, up to second place in the championship, equal with Lisette Brahms, who's had a number of teammates so far this year. But certainly a really, really good run today for the Celerstar Racing Mercedes, putting them right towards the sharp end of the AM Championship. Second race tomorrow for the GT4 runners, and we wait for the first racing podium of the weekend. It's been hot, very hot indeed here at MISANO, and for a lot of the drivers there, they're very much welcome standing in the shade. There is a slight breeze, which is really welcome in the pit lane. Marius Zug on the right-hand side of your screen, and Gabriele Piana, second overall. Great, great run for them in the number 111. Second overall, but importantly for them, 25, the full helping of points for being top car in the Pro-Am class.
Allora cominciamo con ordine per iniziare ufficialmente con la GT4 Silver Cup Championship. Al terzo posto andiamo a conoscere il team e i protagonisti. La squadra è il team Liebert Motorsport, Jan Kiesel, Max Kübelt. Un grande applauso.
So applause for the third runners in the Silver Cup class. We're having the Silver Cup podium. They were fourth overall, but it's the number 4 crew. Jan Kiesel who brought it home, and Max Cobalt who kicked off the Liebert Motorsport Mercedes, a car that looked really good right the way to the end of the hour. Alec Udell and teammate coming out, MDM Motorsports, really going so strongly for Alec Udell and Simon Knapp up into second place. But we know the drivers, we've seen them already since the end of the race, up onto the top step of the podium with the applause. Roman Monti following out after Alex Lamberts, came together for this weekend for Bullet Racing and brought their Mercedes home first. So there was the Spanish national anthem, because Spain is the nation where bullet racing is based. Expanded from 1 car to 2 cars this year, and clearly doing that with great aplomb. So waiting for the presentation of the trophies, and Alec Udell and Simon Knapp, Alec on the left, Simon on the right. We're getting quite a collection of those in 2019. And the winners' trophies to the men on the top step, to French racer Romain Monti and his German teammate Alex Lamberts.
All together on the same step of the podium, guys. The first one all together for the pictures.
So all the formalities, what you can't tell if you're watching from home, unless you're in France or Spain, you may guess that it's very hot. We're not as hot as they are there, but it's been super, super hot, and I think a lot of drivers are discovering how hard and for how long they can push their tyres in these temperatures. So for Romain Monti and Alex Lamberts, don't know what their expectations were coming here at MISANO. New lineup in the second of the bullet racing Mercedes, but they've certainly done themselves and the team very, very proud indeed. Victory, let's just reiterate, it was by 10 and a bit seconds, so it was a very, very tidy victory indeed. Can they do it again tomorrow? Well, let's wait and find out.
Aspettiamo ovviamente l'ok per poter procedere. Siamo? Perfetto. Allora, GT4 Pro-M, un professionista e un gentleman driver insieme. Al terzo posto la squadra tedesca SRO Motorsport con Philipp Bethke e Marc Bassen. Un bel applauso a questo equipaggio che conquista il bronzo della Pro-M. Al secondo posto ci spostiamo in Turchia.
What I love seeing is drivers who really, really just want to race so they can get on the podium. They love it when, you know, if it doesn't go their way, it doesn't go their way, but chance for SRO Motorsport to enjoy the action, get up on the podium. Second overall, but winners in the Pro-M class. Car 111 RN Vision STS, BMW Mario Surku started, and Gabriele Piana. So there is our Pro-Am podium. Proud features of Mario Surku and Gabriele Piana on the top step of the podium for RN Vision STS. Right at the podium you can see SRO Motorsports, number 777 crew, no, that's a sister car, beg your pardon, taking the position. And in second place it's the Turkish crew for the the Borisan Automotive BMW crew, Semnuk Bologbazi and Ibrahim Okyay. Good job for the Turkish racers there.
So please guys, can you take place on the first step of the podium all together for the picture? Okay, showing the trophies up and down. Okay, great. Foto, immagini riprese, scatti degli operatori, dei reporter, dei cameraman.
So well done, gentlemen. All trying, the wise ones trying to keep their overalls champagne free until tomorrow. Others just making the most of the moment, and certainly the SRO Motorsport crew, Philipp Bethke and Marc Bassen on the right, getting into the thick of the action there. One more podium to come. We have the AM podium coming up very soon indeed. Always worth reiterating, it's 3 classes of racing in the GT4 Euro Series. And it just shows how a Pro-Am pairing can do very, very well indeed to get right up at the sharp end of the field there, as did the number 111 crew, the Pro being Gabriele Piana, the Am Marius Zug, German racer with the bronze category. Particularly in a race that becomes fractured, you can get Pro-Am crews right at the sharp end. Lisette Brans and Gabi Auger. Lisette, she's happy when standing still, but far, far happier when going up on the podium. Placed really well in the Am Championship. She knows how to celebrate. Las Maras Racing by Equipe Vescher in their McLaren. That's what it's about, isn't it? Second place in class, the number 17 crew, Street Art Racing. Pascal Bachmann and Clement Seiler. And heading to the top of the Am podium. Let's wait for Cesar Racing Team, Jean-Luc Behe and Johan Vannerum. 14th overall, very good run from them in their Mercedes.
Sono pronti a scalare il podio e noi siamo pronti ad ammirare le bandiere e ad ascoltare l'inno nazionale del Belgio.
So the Belgian national anthem for the Belgian team and the Belgian drivers up on the top step of the podium. Winners in the Am class today, really good run for the Celleslar Racing team. And they have it all to do tomorrow. It's a packed programme here at Misano. You really can't stress that, because as they're up there, the cars are already streaming around to go to the grid to start the next race. And we're going to race into the night here, finishing after 11 o'clock. First day of 2 of racing action here at the Misano World Circuit. Trophies being handed out, the smiles clear for all to see up on the podium. This, the third and last podium for the GT4 European Series action. Got to do it all over again tomorrow. It's hot, it's sticky, it's fun. The racing has been great. And do come and join me, Bruce Jones, again when we go racing on Sunday at Misano. But right now, it's hot and it's fun. Look at those smiles on the podium. That is satisfaction, ladies and gentlemen. So time for the final champagne spraying on the podium, and you can guarantee in the Am class they will spray come what may. That's all from me, Bruce Jones, for here. Today, second day of racing is tomorrow at Misano.